Hey friends, Randy Flickinger here again, talking more about spiritual warfare. Today we're going to cover an individual basis, which ties into the world basis that we talked about in parts 1 and 2. So if you have not seen those, you might find them. It's spiritual warfare on a world basis, part 1 and part 2. It'll kind of help explain how this battle is ongoing worldwide and how it affects how you and I live, the belief systems out there, and the whole works. But today we're going to talk about individual basis because, frankly, it's the individual basis that creates the worldwide battle. If you start thinking about it, it's individuals that make the decisions, especially in leadership, within a family, a company, or a country that start to affect how things are done. So on an individual basis, and this covers a lot of ground, guys. I'll be honest with you. I'll try to keep these relatively short, but we're probably looking at 3 different segments here. So start with this one, and you'll just have to follow up every couple of days as I'll start putting the rest of them on. So if we look at spiritual warfare on a personal basis, I always use the dumb 1970s movie Animal House. Now, I don't advocate anybody going out and renting Animal House or following it, but in that movie, there is a section where a frat boy, and they have a big party. He's got some young girl, and they're doing too much drinking and so forth. And anyway, he gets himself in a situation where he has to make a decision. And a little devil pops up on his shoulder and tells him to do something that he's going to regret, a bad decision. On the other shoulder then pops up an angel, and the angel's saying, no, don't do that. You'll regret it. It's a bad decision. And they have this conversation back and forth, and it's all going on in his mind, but for the sake of the movie, they put it on each shoulder. Crazy, cheesy little way of doing it from Hollywood. Funny movie from that standpoint. But again, it's way more accurate than we maybe realize. Temptation, we talk about temptation all the time, is that battle between your left and your right shoulder. The battle of evil versus good. And who are you going to listen to? What are you going to do? And that battle happens hundreds of times a day, every day in your life. And you may be thinking, hundreds of times? No, come on. Well, let's just walk through a simple day here, right? Typical day. The alarm goes off. What's the first thing you do? You hit snooze a couple times, right? You're already listening to that evil side telling you what? Be lazy, take your time, you don't owe them anything, and it gets us in trouble. That's called sloth. We talked about that in the 5 sins, the 5 categories of sins. Look it up in my videos if you haven't read it. So next, you finally get up. You go into the bathroom, and darn it, your husband just shaved. There's whiskers all in the sink. You've told him numerous times, don't make a mess in the sink. Clean it up. You now have to choose. Am I going to yell at my husband? Am I just going to be quiet but be angry and bitter and harbor that? Or am I going to forgive and recognize, you know what, there's certain things I do that may drive him nuts, and I'm going to forgive him. Next, the husband yells from the kitchen, hey, you overslept again. You're going to get in trouble at your job if you're late again, and we need you to have that job. How are you going to respond to that lecture? Are you going to yell at him and say something that you regret later? Or are you going to recognize that there may be an element of truth there, that you're creating some of your own problems? You see how this works? So it just goes on. We got to get dressed. What do I want to wear? I'd like to wear that, but it's dirty. I didn't get it washed. I'd wear this, but it makes me look a little fat. I've gained a little weight. I get compliments on this. People hate this. You see what happens? It's this battle. You don't look good in that. You shouldn't wear that. No, you shouldn't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Be confident. It just goes on. Then you drive to work. As you're driving to work, people cut you off. There's traffic jams. There's lines of people. There's one-fingered salutes telling everybody you're number one, and whatever the case may be, which is why you get road rage, by the way. Then you go to Starbucks, and you get in line, and it takes forever, and you're already running late. And they mess up your order. And so now you have to drink your latte, and it doesn't have the double shot of mocha or whatever it is that you want. No, I don't drink coffee, so I'm not real great at that. Next, you get to work, and you run into your coworkers. Oh gosh, here comes Susie from accounting. She's coming down to gossip. Or here comes Jim, and he's going to complain about his wife again, or his kids acting up. And you see what happens? All of these are examples of how you respond to each situation. You have customers you deal with. They're unrealistic in their expectations, right? The customer's always right. No, they're not. They aren't, not at all. But you have to deal with it. And how you deal with it is a direct relation to how your belief system and which shoulder you're listening to, which side you're listening to. Your boss then says, doggone it, and he's rude. Are you rude? What happens? You see what's going on? And then it's break time, you go in and they have donuts and it has sprinkles on them. And you say, you know what? I've been trying to lose weight, but I've had a bad day. I deserve this and I'm going to eat this donut. You see what happens? We give in to self. And that's that battle. That's the battle of temptation. That's the battle of spiritual warfare. Which side are you going to listen to? Because the one side's trying to get you to give in to self, the other side's trying to get you to deny yourself. Because if you'll deny yourself, you're going to be better off. And that's what God tells us to do. So by 10 a.m., you've made hundreds of decisions already. And it's a war, and it's a battle, and it's a challenge. And you can come up with endless scenarios. So the key, you get to choose how you respond in each situation. That's the whole point of this lesson, these videos, and my book. Can we start to make more God-honoring decisions each day and less Satan-influenced, self-guided decisions and choices? That's the whole key. To finish this up, let's go to the Bible real fast. If you go to Genesis chapter 3, because that's where spiritual warfare began, in chapter 3 with Adam and Eve, right? And you all know all know what Adam and Eve said. And so Satan comes up to Eve and he says, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the tree in the garden, from the trees in the garden. But God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. Now, by the way, that's not what God said. He flat out told him, you can't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for when you do, he already knew what they were going to do, right? And so she's already exaggerating. Surely humans don't exaggerate. We don't fluff a story. No, that wouldn't happen. And then it goes on, and the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you do, you will certainly die. So he tells them that's what's going on. It's that battle. Which side are you going to listen to? Which side are you going to choose? Okay? See how badly Satan influenced and distorted the truth. And he got them to do what was wrong. Why does Satan love to use? What does he like to use to get us tempted and to make bad choices? Control, folks. It's all about control. And anytime you hear as an individual, you deserve this, unless it's respect, honor, freedom, those type of things, it's Satan trying to mislead you. He's trying to lead you astray. Okay? And I will close section 1 of this with this verse. You will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it as well. So as you can tell, Adam and Eve gave in to the wrong shoulder, to the other side. And that is what spiritual warfare is all about. Hundreds of times each day, you get to choose how you react to things that come into your life. It can be things that people say, things people do, things that you run into, things that you see, things that you hear. And the bottom line is, can you do it in a God-honoring way? That's part 1. Look for part 2 coming up.